Could you tell us a little bit more about your work with Shelter Music Boston?
Sure, I'd love to. I founded Shelter Music Boston in 2010. Actually, after I read an article in the New York Times about a violinist in New York City who was playing occasionally in homeless shelter. And when I read that article at the end of 2009, I immediately thought, we need that in Boston. That's going to be something where I put musicians to work in homeless shelters playing classical chamber music concerts. And I'm going to make it be a social service organization, not a concert presenter. And the social service we're going to deliver is going to be a classical music concert. And so we started off with just 2 musicians. Actually, the other musician also went to Oberlin. And she's the violist, and I played the violin. We started playing concerts in May of 2010 in a shelter where a friend of mine was a psychiatrist. And I had said to my friend, well, who should I talk to at the shelter where you work to see if I could play concerts at that shelter? So I did that, and off we went to start these concerts. I went to meet this person who said to me later that she was happy to give me a chance playing the concerts, but she actually thought I was crazy. What were the audience members in a homeless shelter, the homeless individuals, what were they going to do with this music? And she said within the first 5 minutes of the first concert, she was a complete convert because she saw our audience members sitting quietly, calmly, smiling. And for someone to be smiling in a homeless shelter is an enormous accomplishment. That person, that individual is going through the most stressful time of their lives. And the music was embracing them with respite from that, with the beauty and the complexity of the classical music. So that was our start with the concerts, and since then the organization has grown from 2 concerts a month to now we have 80 to 90 concerts a year throughout Greater Boston. We serve 8 regular partners, and the 3rd week of the month is concert week. So during that week, each of our 8 partners gets a concert delivered to them. We serve a number of homeless shelters, and we now serve a number of programs for women and men recovering from substance abuse.
One thing that I think Oberlin students, especially in the conservatory, are sort of thinking about as they are, going out into the world and becoming professional musicians is how they're going to incorporate entrepreneurship into their art.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so what words of wisdom would you give to performance students going out and doing that work?
Yeah, I can say what has assisted me from my own Oberlin education. I was a double degree student, and so I had a college education as well as a conservatory education, and my degree in the college was English. I always loved to read, and through my education at Oberlin College, I really learned how to write. And learning how to write, communicating in words is a skill that is extremely valuable, whether it is the spoken word or the written word. And those formats are used differently. Certainly, an entrepreneur needs to convince people to invest in the work they are doing, whether it's making a new widget or playing a concert in a homeless shelter. A sense of one's value, the value of one's product. We as musicians are constantly asked to give away our expertise and our product for free. This is a problem in our culture, and we can work to change it. This is one way to work to change it by saying, here's my training, here's my expertise, here's what I've achieved, and here's how much I charge for this service. That's it. And they say, well, don't you need to build your resume? And at this point I say, look, I've played in all the globally important concert halls. No, I don't need to build my resume. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to pay my daughter's college tuition. I need to pay my electric bill. So don't let people take advantage of you because you're a musician. And in fact, I've thought a lot about what we do as instrumentalists is we play music And people think we play at life, it's playtime.
Right.
So that, I often use the word perform or deliver. You've probably heard me say we deliver concerts, and that's deliberate because a social service is delivered. A concert is delivered. I expect people to ask Shelter Music Boston to play for free. I expect people to think we are volunteer staffed. So within the third sentence of any pitch, any first meeting with an interested or uninterested individual, I make it very clear that this is a professionally staffed organization. We employ our staff. They are compensated for the work they do, period. That's it.
Yeah.
And, we'd love to partner with you, and let's see how we can work this out. So, writing skills, evaluating one's accomplishments, learning how to say thank you. I cannot emphasize the importance of saying thank you. For returning my email, for reading my email even if you didn't return it. You never know when that thank you is going to be received, but you can know that it will stand out because not everyone says it.
You sort of mentioned your commitment to advocacy, especially as a student here at Oberlin. So how has that advocacy sort of shaped the way you went about sort of founding Shelter Music Boston, and also just your work as a professional musician in general?
So I've certainly been an advocate for musicians being valued for the work that we can do and the unconventional work that we can do. I've also certainly been advocating for the work having an impact in these unexpected environments. For instance, pairing classical musicians with the homeless population. It's a very unexpected combination. And it turns out there's great energy and exchange and social change that results. The musicians are changed by seeing every single person we serve is not that far from my own life. We're all so vulnerable here. We need to come together, to work together, to address this problem. And of course, we learned that, and the homeless individuals that we serve learned that, wow, this fancy music that I thought was exclusive is embracing me, is welcoming me. These musicians are inviting me to learn about it. I want to use Mozart when I'm stressed out because it's making me happy. So advocating for classical music as a tool for social change, in fact. There's so many studies now about how having a thriving arts community has an enormous impact on the business community, brings incredible revenue to a neighborhood. In our city, actually, and throughout Massachusetts, there's a lot of work being done to support the arts because of not only the fact that you can go to a beautiful concert, but it improves a neighborhood, it draws people together, and when the arts organizations collaborate, we have greater efficacy in our community. So community organizers can work in the arts. There's a lot to be done.
Yeah, and I think a part of that also is Oberlin is realizing that for itself as well, especially with the creation of the PACE program, right? So pedagogy, advocacy, and community engagement. It really helps students to get a sense of all the great work that musicians are doing around the country and around the world.
Yeah.
So
I think I love that the term is community engagement. Sometimes, in the past, there's been the phrase of community service. I prefer the word engagement because it's building a relationship. Another word that I think we can work to put to rest is outreach. Because again, we want to build relationships. We want our programs, our art to be central, not out, not something you have to reach for, but to be central to important social programs, to educational programs, to community building, to social action and social justice work. Not something that we do that's extra, but it's a central focus, which Shelter Music Boston has become in my life, a very enormous part of my professional life. I do play in other ensembles besides the chamber music ensembles of Shelter Music Boston. I play in a couple of orchestras. I play in some summer chamber music festivals. So I'm balancing a number of different kinds of work. However, my mind is taken up with Shelter Music Boston quite a bit of the time. And so it is central. It is not outreach for me. It is central to my professional life and to my personal income, actually, because it is most of my work.
Thank you for your time today. We really appreciated all the words of wisdom that you imparted and sort of, explained your journey throughout your life. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me to do so. It was my pleasure, and I hope that our conversation can inspire some Oberlin students in the future.